What's up YouTube community, Bernd here, welcome back to another video lesson. In this one I want to show you an amazing workout that will greatly improve your hammer-ons and pull-offs. You will really need to master these interesting techniques in a fast and efficient way if you want to play some of the most iconic rock, metal and shred riffs and licks. This is also the foundation you need to play those cool, fast and fluid legato lines like that, for example. So to sum it up, these following exercises will greatly improve your playing in general. This is one of the topics you guys voted for on the lesson wishlist on Patreon. In case you didn't already know, my patrons get to decide and suggest lesson topics that I feature on the channel each month. So if you would also like to be a more active part of this channel and decide about the lesson topics we will look at in the future, make sure to check that out on patreon.com/Bernd. There's one last very shocking fact that I want to share with you before we start practicing together. Around 70% of you guys watching my lessons are not subscribed to the channel yet. That means you miss out on a lot of really cool exercises and practice tips I share on this channel on a regular basis. So right now is a perfect moment to finally join this community by subscribing, that way you never miss out on another free guitar lesson again. With all that said, let's start shredding now. So as we established, hammer-ons and pull-offs are incredibly important techniques that you need to be able to pull off, no pun intended. A lot of my students actually make the mistake of not spending enough time with the technique because it seems relatively simple to master. When I perform a hammer-on, I'm really just hammering on to the fretboard with my left hand, and I'm not using any picking strokes for that. And when I perform a pull-off, I do the exact opposite. I'm just pulling off right here with a little snapping motion. So I'm not using a picking stroke for the second note, I'm making the string ring by pulling off, so I'm playing the second note just like that. So that concept seems relatively simple at the beginning. But one big mistake that eventually results in a sloppy legato technique is not paying attention to the sound of those notes. In the absolute best case scenario, you don't want the listener to be able to hear the difference between the picked notes and the hammer-ons and pull-offs. So one beginner's mistake that I hear quite often sounds like that. Right here I was technically performing hammer-ons, but the dynamics and volume of each note were completely random and I was also really not playing in time. So with today's workouts we will strengthen your left hand to get the same amount of volume, dynamics and articulation out of every single note. And it will also be a great rhythm exercise that is a topic that is sadly often neglected with workouts concerning hammer-ons and pull-offs. You really need to be able to control and feel your timing in order to perform those really cool fast legato licks. With this quick demonstration I did my best to make every single note audible and to play at the same dynamic range and to also play in time. Before we get to the really powerful main exercise for this lesson, I want to show you a more basic workout to get started. One thing you can do in the beginning to get a better feeling for your hammer-ons and pull-offs, just pick one note on a string you want to work with. I'm going with the obvious choice, A on the low E string. And then you practice your hammer-ons and pull-offs with all fingers to a metronome, like that for example. You will notice that this is already much harder than it looks. Aside from playing in time and focusing on the equal dynamics of each note, you also don't want to make the higher strings ring. Your index finger is essentially blocking the next string right here, so you want to focus on not pressing down. That way you make sure to only make the notes on the lowest string audible. Another thing that really helps with developing clean hammer-ons and pull-offs is positioning your thumb around the area behind your middle finger of your left hand. So when I play in this section of the fretboard and I just turn around the guitar, my thumb is usually placed in the area around my middle finger. And as we discussed in the previous left hand tutorials in this month, you also want to focus on a clean left hand technique in general. You don't want flat fingers right here. It will be really difficult to hammer on correctly like that and even harder to pull off. So once again focus on a cupped hand position, just like that, so your fingers can hit the strings at this angle. And also try your best to avoid any extreme angles with your left hand, like that for example. So once you tried that on one string, I want you to move that to all the other strings, since they do feel a bit different when it comes to hammer-ons and pull-offs. And now it's time to check out the more advanced main workout for this week. This is what I want you to include in your practice routine from now on. As always, you can find the tabs, guitar profiles and practice backing tracks for this exercise, and actually for all the exercises we covered on YouTube so far, on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BERNTH. This is also the place where you can get some direct assistance and feedback from me in case you need some help with some technique or theory related frustrations. The really cool and very challenging feature of this exercise is that we are pairing 14 notes on each string. So I'm playing this sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 on all the strings. The way that I chose to write this down in the files for this lesson on Patreon is 14 16th notes in a 7/8 measure. That essentially means that you will also improve your rhythm, note spacing and odd meter skills with this exercise, aside from really drilling your hammer-ons and pull-offs. And as you might know already, I really love workouts that serve multiple purposes in my practice routine. Before you start to practice this, let's revisit the most important factors you need to pay attention to when you work on that. So first of all, you want to focus on your timing here, so you have to practice this to a metronome, or even better with the practice backing tracks that I uploaded on Patreon for you. That way you make sure to become a more accurate and tight player every single day. The next really important detail right here is making every single note audible and performing that with the same dynamic articulation. So once again, you don't want to sound like that. So right there I was playing a really aggressive picking stroke for the first note, and then the volume was decreasing with every single legato note. And then once again, when you're comfortable with performing this pattern on one string, I want you to move it to all the strings. I really hope that you enjoyed this lesson and that you will include this exercise in your practice routine from now on. Once again, you just have to work on this for 5 to 10 minutes every single day to see some really great results. In the end, make sure to subscribe to join this guitar community today, that way you never miss another free guitar lesson again. Leave a like in case you enjoyed that one and a comment if you have any further questions. If you want to support this channel and the creation of more guitar lessons, you can also check out the merch on Teespring. We have some really cool custom guitar and shred related items over there, and you can check out the link in the description below this video. I will hopefully see you in the next video lesson. Thanks a lot for tuning in and have a lot of fun working with this exercise.